Well, hello everybody. Rob Salmon, back again with another level editor tutorial, joined by...
And it's Matt. Yeah, hope everyone's doing well. Sorry there's a brief period for about a week that we haven't posted, but yeah, with this episode we're talking about level development.
Yeah, we'll try to get more on schedule, do like one of these a week, hopefully, but, you know.
Yeah,
Today...
just on our own time, but...
Yeah. We're doing level settings today, which we're going to teach you how to make pretty levels. We're not going to show you, because to make like a really nice level is going to take way longer. But we're going to show you some rules, some common techniques, and what not to do. What the community
it's sort of just like
recommends.
a pretty bold outline that you can follow just to guide you.
Right, like the community who has been around kind of knows the rules now. The main campaign breaks a lot of those rules, but we're going to show you what to do and what not to do. So first we're going to talk about your level setting, as in where is your character killing things at. Is it a bank? Is it a nightclub? There's not a ton of options in the vanilla editor the way the items are, but that's still something you need to decide before doing anything, is what am I building?
Yeah, like Rob just said, of course have a good idea of like setting, and when we get into it we'll kind of talk about items and the appropriate items that you're going to be using for your specific level, and obviously this will help once you have a good idea of the items list and sort of we're going to be putting into it.
Right, we didn't cover this a ton when we were showing items in the first video, just about like there is a lot of options for what you want to make. Pretty much any setting you saw in the main game, you can make 100 different variations of in the editor, and it's going to take a little bit more creativity if you want to do something like a car wash or a gas station that you don't actually see in game.
Yeah, and I think kind of using that was a good just using sort of inspiration at times. Like I think with like he just said with the gas station, I've seen with the subway ticket machines that someone like attached a hose on like the bottom of it, and it sort of was like a gas pump. So I thought that was sort of clever.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna try to build that right now. So it's this, and then the hose.
Yeah, you could do like 2 columns and like space them out like 2 units in between.
Something like that. And hope I turned off music.
Speed building.
Yeah, there we go. So there, you got yourself a little gas pump. Okay, so that's level setting. We'll get into colors and floor tiles in a second. The first thing I want to do is play a little game of Goldilocks with you here, because this is probably one of the biggest mistakes we see, and one of the easiest, I think, to actually overcome is the Goldilocks problem, which is this level's too small, this level's too big, this one is just right. Basically, too small levels are too cramped, and the game's combat really shows some of its problems, namely in executions and hit detection. Whereas too big, you're gonna get shot off screen. Whereas if you gotta like get the right size room, which will be fun to play. And I honestly believe the main game didn't even succeed in that in a lot of ways. So yeah, come in here. Yeah. Another.
It's funny because I'm just seeing this.
Yeah, I included this guy behind the bar too, because people love putting a gunner behind the bar that like can't escape, so he just stands there and shoots at you. Please stop.
Yeah, or putting we'll talk about specific enemy placement, but
especially
either a ducker behind the bar.
Yeah, like if I can't reach them, it's pretty frustrating. Although I'm sure this is probably one of the most polarizing episode, I think, because a lot of the big creators probably have different philosophies of what looks good, what doesn't. Like, I'm not claiming any of this looks good right now. But I just kind of want to give you a good idea of what the level design, and you could beat that room if you bait and whatnot. If you come in here, yeah, see. I really wish I turned off my mods, because this is the French from Human Being 3. So you're welcome for this. Fuck, I wish I turned off my mods. Anyways, but this room's too small. You come in, you have a door. If you have a door looking like this, it doesn't look good. This is honestly probably the best small room you could create with hardly anything in it.
Yeah.
Basically, you can't do a whole lot with this kind of stuff. If you want a good example of crowdedness, play like the original Blessed campaign. Like, there's no breathing room.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I can come in here, and it's easier, obviously, but it's also more fun to play. The whole get good mentality, like, difficulty's a fun thing. If it's frustratingly difficult, it's not good. It's gotta have a level of difficulty that, like, you can surpass. See, like, that wasn't fair. The dude shot me from, like, way up there. So don't do that. You gotta find the right size rooms, which leaves us to
I was gonna say too with the sorry, God, this sounds so loud on that. Basically with the rooms as well, it's not saying like having like the maximum amount of enemies that should be in a room. It's more so when you get to like level flow and sort of like oh, I could add an enemy here, or there's like basically just spam at this point. So it's like, of course, just use your best judgment. Even for that smallest room, I would only put like one guy in there.
Right.
But again, it's kind of up to like get a feel for it.
Yeah, especially special enemies like dodgers and fats and whatnot.
Yeah, I think with that too, what you're talking about the that smallest room, I was like, I swear to God, like a handful of times you see people who put a ducker in a room like that. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
No, I agree. We're gonna talk about duckers because those do the best to ruin flow more than I think anything. Is when you gotta like stop, go back, find a gun, and then just peek him until he stands up. Honestly, I don't think they should have been in the game. Period. Because I've never, like, I can barely think of any ways that it makes it fun. Like, at least with the dodgers, you can throw your weapon, pick up a melee weapon, and whack him. Like, you feel cool.
Yeah, it's like some sort of like combo weird thing.
Yeah, I've never found crouchers good unless they might look the level look cool. Like, you see him crouching behind a table, like visually that's cool. Not fun to fight.
Yeah, like mechanically it's stupid. I do agree that they've been without it, like possibly like you said, aesthetically, like with Dead Ahead, like holy shit, there's like Colombians like stacked up here. Like they do not want you to like come on board, but like like just game mechanics, it's shitty. But
so we forgot to include this in the last level editor tutorial video. Thank you, Jacket50B, for reminding us about it. Is you hold Shift and right mouse bumper, if you have the build tab up, Shift and right mouse bumper, and you can just delete all the floors this way. I forget about this quite often myself, but it's useful. It's better than the way I told you in the last video, where it's just to choose like one of these blank ones. Because if you add a tile mod that fills in those blank ones, it'll show up, like even though it's technically blank. So the better way is right mouse bumper, or right mouse button, shift. So the more you know.
Yeah, just hotkeys. Hotkeys.
There we go, all day. So next we want to talk about another thing is, so you go, Rob, I understand about the open levels, but it looks cool. Like if you look at this level, this is a cool little diner here. I don't want to change it because realistically, a diner would be that size. No. Gameplay over design, as in, I don't care how good it looks. If it plays like shit, it's trash. I'm sorry. You know, this is a nice bar. It doesn't play well at all, but it's a nice bar. No, you're gonna have to fix that if you want people to really enjoy your levels. Just because it's realistically designed like that, doesn't mean to play. Especially courtyards. Like I've seen people actually like say, like, I know the courtyard's frustrating to play, but I mean courtyards aren't that small, so you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, and even like a good example is your tables. Like you could almost keep the ones that are vertical, and then add like, if they're all vertical, and then add another column in the middle, and like it would be realistic, like I guess the sitting room for people, but at the same time your character wouldn't be able to like walk through them like he has now in that space, and you have to go like all the way around, and that's just like you're limiting like movement to your player sort of thing.
Right. At the very least, and I don't suggest doing this throughout your entire campaign, but if you reach a room that you're like, I literally don't know how to design this not open, just don't include a double barrel enemy on the other side of the room. Don't include idle enemies just standing here waiting to gun you down as soon as you walk through the door. You can kind of cheese it with the enemy placement too, so they're not off screen when you engage.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about like specific enemies and level flow. Like a huge thing, a side note is that, like you said, the random double barrel guys are essentially like aimbots, and they can easily just like scope you from like 4 windows and just like screw your day up. So.
Oh yeah, I think double barrel enemies has killed me more in this game than anything else. So you could even change their patrols. So I could place like a stool here, and they'll walk this way, so they're never off camera. Should I be standing here? And if you don't like adding a small object there, you can use and Matt taught me this, use the invisible barrier, and this might catch your player slightly, but more often than not, that looks nice, and that won't show up, so they'll just turn for seemingly no reason. So if you can't come up with a small object to alter the path, you can just do that. What do you think?
Yeah, just a little notch, and with that, you'll kind of see how they kind of behave in the way the space it takes for them to hit an object. It's like not right against them. It's like almost like, I don't know the amount, but yeah, like he said, you can almost, if you're not able to add anything like a trash can or something you don't want to visually kind of mess up the level vibe you're going for, then yeah, like the red notches are a good kind of substitute.
Right. A couple other things I suggest not to do is green or red walls in the interior, even if it's a sewer level or something. The green sewer walls and the red outdoor walls, if you're going to make an entire level looking with these walls, you're messing up. It doesn't look good. Checkered tile spam, if you're using these checkered tiles just abundantly too much, you're just gonna hurt my eyes. The cornerless walls for everything. These can be like nice specialist walls, but if your entire room is made out of these, it looks strange because the corners make the walls overlap because there aren't any corners.
Yeah, and I think going back with the tile thing too, you definitely want some variation of just tiles in general. Like not all not the whole level has to be like just straight rug. Like you want some tiles in there, like possibly some like flatter looking floor tiles. But of course, we'll kind of get into the aesthetics of your level and kind of what color schemes are really good. But yeah.
Right, that's a difficult thing to teach, in my opinion. You just kind of have to have an eye for it. But like, if you just fill a room with a one color carpet and just do that for every room, it looks poor, basically.
Yeah.
You want variation.
You can almost have variation with like using like 3 or 4, like 4 different sort of like tiles that sort of like bring it together, but literally just switch on and off with that. And of course, like Rob just said, that's almost better than having like one specific tile for your whole floor.
So going more in depth about the tiles and the variations, here we're going to show a creation that Matt made, showing what you can do. Maybe not the best example of tile variation because there's only 2 to 3 different tiles in each of these rooms, but you can use the furniture and the tiles to complement each other to create what you're supposed to be, an office, a house.
Hey, turn off your grid briefly. Turn off your grid.
Is it triggering you?
Yeah, or just more so like seeing it visually. I think it's better. Yeah, I think Rob said too with it doesn't really show a good example of like the variation, because obviously when you're working with larger floor plans, obviously you're gonna have more space to, of course, have that variation. But yeah, this is for just like level detail. It's almost I think what we said was like simplistic is the far left. The middle one's like a moderate sort of level design. You have like the monitors, you might have like a trash can or like a plant, probably see like some picture frames, and then highly detailed, which is not overly crazy, but of course like the easiest just like a drug den where you just have like drug crates, boxes.
It's a lot of trash sprites
yeah.
in the editor.
There's different objects have different properties. So you saw there's like a homeless bed there. There's like the gang mattresses, where it's basically like a mattress that is on the floor. But in this case, these trash bags, what they look like, they're actually body bags in the editor. and I kind of like these because you can put them in the middle of the floor, and you don't have to worry about the player kind of getting stuck and having to go around them. So that's kind of a unique thing I've like used.
Yeah, flat or walk overable objects are really good to decorate your level because they're not gonna just your character's not gonna get gummed up on them, nor is the enemy design. If you're because you're gonna have to create good walking placements if you want a good level. I like mostly would suggest stick to patrols. The random ones usually can break a level if they walk into the wrong hallway, and the
they definitely leave it up to random enemies to go where you basically don't want them to, and you can imagine like, oh, he's going to be contained within this specific room. It's like, no, he's going to walk out. He's easily just going to like gun you down. But gameplay wise, I love when that happens because it's sort of unexpected.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing, but I think we've all been there when a random shotgun or random double barrel guy gets you. Okay, you want to move to enemy placement now?
Yeah, so again, like I said, it's just a good kind of, not good, a fair example of just sort of examples of level detail in general. But yeah, so as we transition, let's head to the enemy lab, where we're going to conquer a pretty decent section, party section of enemy placement.
Yeah, and as I'm standing here, if you don't want enemies to shoot you through windows, or see you at least, you can put invisible walls over them. Bullets can go through, but this is actually a good way to prevent enemies from seeing you. It's another thing, is if you have an item like a desk that you can't walk over but people can see you over, if you put something here and then put the invisible wall, now you've created a visual barrier, and so that can help you get away with bigger rooms. Just a heads up.
Yeah, I think too, there's some shelves, I don't know if they're on the henchman levels, but there's one, I think it's actually the police, like police evidence
rooms, yeah.
Where there's like
they look right over those.
Yes. Yeah, those shelves, they can easily just shotgun you through them, so kind of be careful with that and like sort of test them. And you can almost just test it out by putting an enemy on the other side of a shelf and just seeing if they shoot you through it.
Yeah, eventually you'll learn the behaviors of each item.
And also too, with the red barrier wall with the windows, this top left section where you kind of see it's by the silenced pistol, the reason that's kind of jutting out is I put it against, and it almost was like the patrol was like running into it, and so I kind of brought it down a bit. I think that's just a bug with this level, but that shouldn't happen. But just in case you were wondering, that's why.
Literally any pixel in their path will get them to turn. So it has to be perfect. So basically, we've talked that patrols is your go-to enemy placement. So let's talk about the types. Matt has some cute names for them.
Yeah, so basically, this is kind of confusing, but it's almost to help me remember. But looking at this top section is what I would consider like a light patrol. And again, this could be just 2 patrol melee enemies, or you could even have like 1 patrol gunner, because again, it only takes 1 guy, like 1 gun enemy, just to like shoot you down. But this is kind of considered like a light sort of patrol, and with these 2 melee guys, it's sort of easy to see them coming for you. And so yeah, so moving down, after Rob murdered my people, we have what I consider a medium patrol, and of course this could be maybe like two gunners, or maybe like a melee and a gunner patrol. We also get the variations of having like a gunner and a fat guy, and there's kind of issues with that we'll get into. But yeah, just 2 gun enemies. I think maximum for this is definitely enough to patrol like a decent hallway or section within your level. So yeah, shoot them.
Yeah, especially since they can't see me because the invisible barrier. Next, we're doing heavy. I believe heavy patrol.
Cool. So yeah, this is far right, and heavy patrol. Not that it consists of just like 3 enemies, but in this case, it's pretty packed. So another variation would almost be like a fat guy, a gunner in the middle, and another fat guy, and that'll probably be the maximum patrol, at least with fat enemies, because I've seen like ones that it's like 3 fat enemies in a row, and that's just like way too much. And so yeah, for this case, this is like, I would rarely put this in a level, and obviously when we get into like difficulty, I would consider this a common sort of patrol in a hard difficulty level, but obviously it's using your best judgment for this.
Right, and with fat enemies, you can create, like, you can have accidental meat shields, which that you don't want to be a regular thing in your levels. Obviously, it's unavoidable. Sometimes a small enemy's gonna get in front of the fat enemy and absorb the entire shotgun shot. But if it's happening consistently, you might want to change up the order of the patrol.
And yeah, like you said, go ahead.
I was gonna say also, including a fat patrolling around a room and maybe having a dodger in the middle, so you're having to like shoot over the dodger to kill the fat and pick up a melee weapon somewhere and hit him.
Yeah.
I think it ruins the flow. I don't like dodgers or crouchers a whole lot. What's down here?
Yeah, we're kind of getting into that. If you go all the way down, I think I bid another section to the double doors.
Oh, up here?
And yeah, I guess so. I think I put like a variation. I think what we just said, if you see the patrol shotgun guy and the fat dude, you want it like that, not the other way around, because like Rob just said, it's almost a meat shield that you're gonna have to kill those guys to go through. Sorry. And
Shit.
so yeah, just get the sound pistol.
Yeah, Matt's watching at a delay because Steam broadcasting, so if it sounds like Matt's not up to speed, it's because he isn't.
Yeah. I'm just slow in general. Just kidding.
Hey. Alright, so now that you've seen kind of how to do patrols, here's a lot of what not to do, as Hammer will explain to you. So if you've ever played one of those terrible jacket campaigns, this is probably a common sight with just... Matt just pulled out all the stops here of what makes him angry. What makes me angry.
Yeah, I kind of... This is bad. So we can almost... I'm having trouble even looking at this right now, but like Rob just said, sort of with the red and zero walls, sort of just like having a consistency, like you want your red walls to be the exterior and white walls on the inside, and this is sort of like a mix of both, which is obviously you just want that consistency. And that far left side, again, this is just spam in general, which is just not fun, whether it's like melee, random melee, or gunner enemies. We have a 1x3 hallway, which is just like not good.
Don't do this, please.
Yeah.
Another thing I think you forgot is the patrols that end up getting stuck. Sometimes, especially if you don't just let the patrols go for a while before you start, like when you're testing your level, I would suggest either walking outside and just watching the whole hamster ball go, because often often you'll have like a patrol work for like a couple of rounds, then all of a sudden he'll hit something he wasn't supposed to, and they'll get stuck in a corner and just turn forever. Fix that, please. Just let your level run without attacking or engaging them, and see how long it can hold out. Because if it can go forever, you're golden. But like, if they get stuck in a corner or something, you're gonna have to move an object.
Yeah, when I'm first generally putting a layout down, I'll put enemies like the first, like, yeah, roughly like 4 or 5 times up front. And I'm literally, like Rob just said, I'm not even like fighting enemies. I'm literally just walking around and just seeing what they're doing. So yeah, that's a great tip to consider when you're making your stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I need to finish this. So what's next? Oh yeah. You are God at your own level, basically.
Yep.
When you make a level, it's as if that you're the master of it. You know where all the enemies are. You know the best routes, pretty much.
Yeah, you know what's expected, and that's the best way to describe it.
So it's usually a lot easier. I get a lot of this level's hard, and the person responds with, "Oh, I can beat it fast." Well, yeah, you created it. You know where everything is. That usually creates a lot of issues where enemies are off screen because you know where to shoot the minute you walk in the room. Other people who play it on their first try won't, and most people don't go through a level more than once. Most campaigns have only played through once unless they're phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think with getting off screen through windows, like with this, example with the red barrier, I've seen like office levels where you have some sort of like couch area, but basically you have multiple windows and at least like 4 static enemies just like pointing through the windows, and they're like on the other side of the map. And of course,
like
you could
Wish.
like red barrier them. Yeah, basically, that's a great example. And as we get to talking about, even the main game levels are not all of them are awful, but there are multiple offenses that are just not good, and that you shouldn't always like look for that as inspiration.
Yeah.
But
so it's very easy to do the whole off-screen enemy thing, because
yeah,
even
definitely.
or like sacrifice gameplay for realistic-looking levels. Like when the creators of the game do it, you know it's easy to do. So we're serious when we say watch out for it.
Yeah, and I think, of course, it's just like using your best judgment, but I think, not to say you're never going to have an off-screen kill, but obviously with understanding enemy placement, it's doing your best to avoid, like having, like at least my mindset when I'm making a level is this fun to play, and like having little to no off-screens for the player. And we'll kind of get into like playtesting, or I think now, because you talked about dodgers sort of ruining level flow, or like having a ducker behind your bar.
I would
force
suggest
camping.
hardly ever putting duckers in a level. Like some people go way overboard with them, like these kind of dodgers. Basically, they ruin game flow, because I mean the whole game's about killing as fast as possible. So if I clear out 5 rooms, and then before I walk to the next door see that he's standing right outside of it and I have a gun, I'm gonna have to stop what I'm doing, go back, find a pipe, walk in there and brain him with it, and that just ruins the flow.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they don't up the difficulty for the best, they do it for the worst. So I would say
people think, of course,
2 dodgers a floor at most, in my opinion.
I would say 1 even, but that's just me.
Sure. Depending on the size of the floor itself. Just
True.
Go easy. Same with dogs. 1 or 2. They're not a huge offender of a lot of things, but you can't kill them unarmed, so it's probably best not to throw them at the very beginning of the level. Like if I'm walking through the door and I'm immediately mauled by a dog, that's bad. Well, that's
you kind of want them like I usually put them like at the way end where my player's not at, or kind of in the middle, and allow them to sort of, because I think they hug the left side of the wall with their properties, and sort of put them where they might wander to an area that they easily can be seen, and your player is sort of like ready for it because they're fast. So let's talk about inspiration too with that. I'll chime in, but do me start.
Yeah, talk about playtesters.
Okay, yeah, so going back to I think a previous topic I mentioned is playtesting, which is sort of related to this saying that you are a god at your own level. Now, we're talking about dodgers and stuff, I would almost recommend when you're first sort of making your levels, getting serious with it, don't use dodgers or duckers, any of that sort. Like Mafia is a good sort of default for what you can be using, but playtesting, what I imagine, so you finish your level, and again, I highly recommend you do this before publishing on the workshop, but finding your level file, we'll kind of get into later videos on how to locate that, but you can even upload your level to friends only on Steam, and send your friends a chat and be like, hey, I made this level, are you able to like playtest it for me? And another thing you can do is
yeah, if you've got confident
I guess if
friends, you can get good info.
Yeah, and hopefully you have good friends that will give you constructive feedback. But yeah, like Rob said, and also you're allowed to, you can watch broadcasts on Steam, so hopefully if their internet is good, you can sort of, what I do is I'll send them a level file, and they'll sort of put it in their game, and I'll watch their broadcast, like as they're playing it live, and so essentially you have someone who's playing your level blind, and that's a great like tool to use, because I'll literally sit there with like a notepad and say maybe the second floor, this larger room, I saw they were getting killed often by this one specific enemy, and so I'll make note of that, and I'll go back and maybe I'll delete them, or maybe I'll like move them around, but in general Just having, you don't need like 10 people to play test it. I say with a single level, get like one or two and really kind of observe how they're going through and playing stuff, and just sort of use that feedback to edit and kind of work around. But yeah, play testing I believe is a must to making like efficient, good levels, in my opinion. So
no,
I agree. Add it to that.
I agree. There was one Human Being 2 level that there was 2 ways to the next floor, and I don't think I ever used the other way. I always went the same way. So then when I had Yserian going the other way, he was like, "Oh, it's really broken this direction," and I just never knew. So, like, it's really also if someone asks you to playtest the level, don't just be like, "It's good" or "Great level," smiley face, or some shit post like that. Like, say what you thought. If you really think it's flawless and it's God's gift to Hotline Miami, like, I guess you can tell them that. But like I put out a beta for Human Being 3's first level, and everyone's like, "Great job, Rob," and like I got one good feedback at best.
Yeah, I think too, with uploading on the workshop, we'll kind of get into not the community, but basically I remember when I got my first actual comment instead of I think there's some guy that goes around, he just says good level, and I think like Rob just said, you're just like, you want like, what did you like about it, sort of thing. And yeah, so I think too with being, and I think with being an author as well, not that when we get into like creating campaigns, but when provided that someone who's playtesting your level, you need to be giving good constructive feedback. Obviously don't be too critical, like some people are obviously newer to it, just dealing with stuff like this, something could have taken like 20 hours to do. Obviously don't like roast their level, but sort of what am I looking for? Basically, don't kind of get wrapped up in like they're sort of like targeting your level, because I can feel I've like been in the sense of like, this level is the shit, it's so good, and then someone's like, like you should probably delete these 3 enemies, blah blah blah, and you kind of get not taken aback, but sort of get out of that mindset and more so the player, and kind of think, is this kind of like ruining the flow of it? Like, is this sort of like a pain in the ass maneuver that only I can do like mid game? But yeah, just be open-minded and sort of like the feedback that you're receiving from your playtesters.
Right. So basically, unfortunately, we can't show you how to make a nice level or what looks good. We can give you some suggestions, like wood floors with carpets, or carpet designs with matching colors always looks nice. Tiles with good edges, but it's really hard to be like, oh, this is what looks good, because it's subjective, and you're gonna have to have a bit of a creative mind. I would suggest, if you're running blank, what you need to do is go play other people's good levels. I would suggest you go out and you play, if you haven't already, go and do Hunter Snowfall, Blessed Redux, Born Again, and just, the top of the editor stuff, the cream of the crop. I'm not going to promote my own shit, but those are some really good levels to just look at, and like, especially Blessed Redux, because there's pretty much no furniture or tile mods. It's almost entirely vanilla besides the characters, so you can see what's possible without anything fancy like Snowfall. I think
and what do you mean by
played in a while, but I remember
and what he means by vanilla too is that sorry, I didn't want to talk over you.
No, go ahead.
I think what Rob meant about vanilla, essentially, I know hopefully people know, is that you have no mods. It's what's given to you within the editor, which is funny because I don't think I've heard people say vanilla, just like no mods in general. But lastly, he made a good point about like Hunter Snowfall and Born Again, in that you'll kind of find, if you're observing like level design consistency, as we're talking about like inspiration, but basically like with Lego Mac, he's like very like, I think, detailed oriented in a way, and then you look at something like Born Again and it's again just as good, like the levels play great, but I think Yserian has a very simplistic design that's very cool. And so
it's more like the actual levels from the main game, where they're not
and
filled,
just like
they're not filled to the brim with stuff.
And I think closing notes overall, that's a good point, that you really don't need like 1,000 objects in a a floor or like your level to like make it great. Like as long as you have the fundamentals of like visually, it's like good, but also you have like good enemy placement that's fair, and overall the level's fun to play. Then that's what matters.
All right, so I think we covered it. Good luck with your levels. Tune in next time so we teach you how to make cutscenes. Oh boy. All right. Goodbye.
See ya.